Hello and welcome back to Rise of Flight for the next installment in my Rise of Flight Let's Play. Today we are going to be doing a short flight from this airfield just here, and we're flying some high-ranking generals over to Tarnopol here, but the important part is what we're going to be flying on the return leg. So let's read our diary entry here. It's the 29th of September 1915, so we're flying as Vasily Sobukov, our Russian pilot, second time we've flown as him. The day has come at last. Our squadron is currently playing host to a score of aristocrats and generals, two of whom have taken a particular interest to our so-called flying airships. With business in nearby Tarnopol to attend to, we were tasked with ferrying them to a nearby airbase, and on the return flight, I'll at last have my chance to take to the controls of the Ilya Muromets. The weather has certainly been getting colder, and this has no doubt led to a reduction in air activity on both sides of the front. Still, we're taking no risks, and I'll be flying escort on the way over. I do wish my S-16 had a heater installed though. Okay, we are in our trusty Russian aircraft here. S-16, we've flown it once before. Let's get straight into the mission. Okay, I'm not going to hang around here because ahead of me is another aircraft and he's starting up already. So what we've got to do is start our own engines here. Come on, you know you want to. He's leaving without us. With those aristocrats on board. Incredible Ilya Muromets. Okay, here we go. Let's just taxi straight out and into a takeoff. Didn't lose a wing. Just our RPM very slightly. And away we go. Doesn't look like there's any wind. I'm flying way off course here. Let's get after them. Something about this aircraft is much louder than some of the others. I say there's no wind, I'm having to bank slightly to the right here. Now when I was flying escort in one of the Milan Solnias in an earlier mission, what I found was the plane seemed to experience turbulence when I was flying behind it. So let's see if we can test that theory by flying right behind this guy. Handy to know now if we ever need to come up against something this size, if our plane's going to get blown to bits just by flying behind it. He's going quite fast. I'm struggling to catch him here. The S-16 was designed to fly escort to these, but I'm worried I can't even keep up. Is he getting smaller or larger? He's got 4 engines, I've only got 1. And each one of his is more powerful than mine, so... So the Ilya Muromets, the planes themselves before the war were actually designed as kind of air ferries, so to speak. Flying commercial passengers from one place to another. And kind of Russian aristocrats would have been the main body of those customers. I think we're about equal in speed here. I may be gaining on him very, very slightly. We're flying over towards Tarnopol, off to the left there. Now, I mentioned in the briefing that it's getting colder. At the moment we're still using the summer map, but soon I will be switching to autumn. And I've tried reducing the temperature as well. I doubt it's going to give me a perceptible difference. Not at the altitude I'm flying at anyway. And the weather, of course, was something that they had to deal with constantly on the Eastern Front. Gets a lot colder over there. Eventually it would reach a point in the winter where they didn't even have wheels fitted to their aircraft. They actually had skis fitted on the bottom end. It was the better solution for taking off and landing. Is this guy gonna follow his objectives correctly? If he doesn't, we'll just go off to the left on our own. You can actually see the observer on the top there. I didn't feel much turbulence on my plane as I was flying out behind him there. Put on a show for those generals. Oh, I did feel something there actually. This plane seems quite easy to stall there. I don't feel like I pulled up particularly hard. There's the town off ahead of us, and there's our airfield actually. So I think in Rise of Flight there's a crew of 3 in these things. Depending on the particular model, there could be a crew of many, many more. I think there was a total of about 80 Ilya-Muromets, and the best my research will tell me is that this is the S-26. The S-22 was the original model. I don't believe that's the one, despite what the game says, that's actually modelled in this game. I reckon this is a later S-25, 26, which used the 4 engines and was in much larger numbers. We're going to get a shot to fly it in a second. incredible machine. Didn't want to lose sight of him there. So I went low just to make sure I didn't have a collision. There's actually my airfield. I'm going to go ahead and land, and then we'll skip forwards in time to when we're going to be flying here the Imperial monuments. I don't think we had any wind, so I'll just go in on a normal approach. It's a slight hill here, but I think we'll be alright. Oh look, there he is, right ahead of us. Over the road there. Okay, we'll get wheeled out here, and then we will make room for him to land, and then we'll be taking over ourselves a bit later on. Okay, here we are then at the controls of the Ilya Minometz at last. Look at this bomb bay behind us here. We're not carrying any payload. We were just carrying a couple passengers across up until now. But we can have a look around. Still got a gunner up on top here. I think ordinarily there'd be a third crew member ready to drop the bombs behind us here. I don't think it would be the responsibility of the pilot. We can have a look around here. We've got our throttle controls on the left hand side here, all in Russian. Terrific. We have something. We're not entirely sure. Is that an altimeter? It looks like it could be. A fuel gauge there, maybe, perhaps. Another one over there, maybe not fuel gauges then. Or perhaps we have a separate one for the engines on the left and the engines on the right as well. Let's look down here. What is this? French controls. Not entirely sure what they are. They could be to do with the engines because there's 4 of them. And then we have a compass at our feet as well as some, looks like, assists for lining up for bombing missions. And these here look like the switches to start the engines. What we're going to do actually is we're going to start only a couple individual engines here. So we'll start the outside one here, and we're going to start the outside on this side too. And then we will do a quick test. Up to max. And I can see as well these dials have gone round several times here. Let's cut those and test our inside engines now. Expect them to be a little louder since they're closer to us. It's throttle up again. Now I could map individual engine throttles, but I'm not going to bother with that. I will instead start all 4 engines now. And we are ready to take off, I think. Time to fly. Let's go. Here we go. And we are up. Got plenty of fuel on board, so we'll just run them at full throttle. We'll gradually start banking to our right. Just testing out the rudder there. We need to check our compass here. We want to head east. Turner pole's off behind us there. Maybe just catch a glimpse of it out the window. Sort of factory or something. Let's head back this direction. I have some sort of gauge up there which is telling me how much I'm banking or what kind of G-forces I'm feeling. These must be fuel gauges, and that must be an altimeter of some description. Now, we've flown this route once before, back when we were in an S-16. Let's pull out our map here. See where we are. If I join this river here, hopefully I can follow that towards my objective. You can check out the bomb bay as well, just here. We'll be back to that screen later on, not for this mission though. There also seems to be a bit of a delay between switching screens before I regain control. I guess that makes sense. I seem to be on my own in here, so I'm travelling back and forth. Okay, if you see the city of Turnipole there, just to the right, there are a number of rivers. You can see the airfield I flew from. The river to the east of that airfield goes south and joins another river. That is just there. So what I want to do is cut across and join that river next to those 2 bridges, one of which is a rail bridge. Yep, I can see that just there, just to the north of that little town. And then I'm just going to fly until we reach that big, or the village around there that's surrounded by water, and then we'll fly southeast back to our landing pad, and we will attempt to land one of these behemoths here. Got an amazing view here with a floor made out of glass. What kind of altitude are we at? About 500 meters, I think. Which is more or less what the plane was flying at before when we were on our way over. I think it's probably a better idea. I'm thinking about landing already, just to keep all our engines going and just throttle them all back rather than cutting 2 of them. That might have disastrous results. Look at the amount of rigging going on here. Just like a spider's web of different cables. See my ailerons out there as well. Yeah, if you remember my diary entry from the first time I flew as Vasily, he was actually trained as one of the observers sitting up through that hatch up there. Someone else has that responsibility at the moment. I think our airfield is off down there somewhere. No mixture control for the first time in all the planes we flew. No mixture. I'm still not sure about that radiator in the FE2B. I will check that before I fly that tomorrow. Because I had a gauge for it, but I couldn't seem to get it to respond to any input. Now, I was seeing steam coming out of the back of the plane when I looked over my shoulder, but at the same time I saw a little bit of steam coming out of this thing when I was flying escort to it. Is that a window there? Yeah, it is. You can just about see my elevators out there. I'm going needlessly high. I'm at 700 meters. Let's point the nose down a little bit. I wonder which one of these lines here is my heading. Is it the largest line? Probably is. The sound effects make it seem like we're speeding up and slowing down, but I'm not doing anything to the throttle. Maybe it's just me zooming in and out. Now, back when we were navigating this route before, I seem to remember we had to look for 2 ridges. There's one, and there's a second one, so in theory the airfield, I wonder if that's it there, just like a little smudge on the ground. Or perhaps that over there. We'll fly a little bit closer. So if here are the 2 bridges, the airfield should be directly ahead of us, and there it is, just fading into view now. I'll try and line up my heading with it. It's just under the largest bar. So we're heading the right direction. Let's start dropping altitude here. I'm not sure what to make of these gauges here. They are incomprehensible to me. Looks like we've got 1,000 RPM, perhaps 2,000 RPM. No, I shouldn't think 2,000. We did see them go around quite a few times, but 2,000 suggests like only go up that high in a dive. I don't know how well this thing dies, probably not great. So let's not push it. Let's throttle back a little bit as well here. Wow, that RPM really dropped off, down to 600 now. And we're diving. I'm going to have to fly a little bit at low altitude just to get a feel for how it works and how much lift it's generating at different speeds, so I don't want to crash. They might not let me fly one of these again if I do, assuming I even survive. I've lost sight of my airfield as well. Oh, there it is, directly ahead of me. Way up there. I don't see any speed gauges either. I wonder what this thing is here. right down towards the ground now, so I can start to think about or learn how this thing flies before I go in for the final approach. Looks like we're in quite a steep dive here, but I feel like I have plenty of speed to pull up if need be. Okay, so it's 600 RPM. Can I do stable flight? I'm not convinced. Let's pick it up to about 800 then. Or just over 7. Okay, I seem to be able to fly like this just fine. So let's just slowly make our way in for landing. I wish my throttle was a little bit smoother in its movements, but it's not. It seems to catch like it needs to be oiled. There's the airfield. How long does this road go for? Goes right up. I think I'm just gonna have to touch down. Well, okay, it was pretty gentle. Let's slow us right down here because we are going forwards quite fast. Okay, no, that was pretty good. There's another one of those incredible machines. And there's our other prototype S-16. Hey, we landed that almost perfect. And we can shut off our engines here, let them spin down. And that's us done. So, how long now until we go on an actual bombing mission? I think first I need to do a bombing mission in a smaller aircraft, and then we'll go for some strategic bombing later on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with one more mission in September, and then I'm probably going to take another break, come back end of October, very end of October, and early November for another batch of missions then.